Alright, so we're gonna do a sprocket swap on the jack shaft. Now, the big sprocket on there is a 24 tooth sprocket. We're gonna be replacing that with this. This is a 30 tooth sprocket. I think it'll fit in there. It's gonna be a little cramped, but I think it'll work. The small sprocket on here is a 12. We're gonna be replacing that with an 11 tooth sprocket. I just wanna see like how much this changes the gearing. We still have no idea if the gearing's good on this thing or not. We still haven't done a test drive, but I just want to get this geared a little bit lower than it is now, just so we have more acceleration, power, and more torque in this thing. Alright, so I just remeasured the gearing, and it's now 1 to 5.5. Before, it was 1 to 4. So it's a little bit lower. We're not entirely sure if it's too low, if it's too high. We have no way of knowing until we test this thing. Just take it for a drive, take it for a test drive, and once we do that, then we will finally know if the gearing is perfect, or if it's too high, or if it's too low, or if it needs changing. So I just wanted to get it a little bit lower than what it was, just so, because I want this thing to have an incredible amount of torque to the wheels. I want this thing to do wheelies. We have no idea if this thing's going to do wheelies. I have no idea if it's going to be strong enough to lift up the weight of this engine in the front. Maybe it'll be a good thing with having so much weight in the front. Maybe it'll keep the front wheels on the ground, so therefore we can control this thing and drive it without just, you know, constantly doing wheelies. So anyway, let's now yes, you guys are right about the tire size. These are 22-inch tires. The tires on the motorcycle are 25-inch. So you guys are right about that. About the gearing is going to be different because these tires are smaller than the motorcycle ones. So anyway, let's work on something else. So I started working on figuring out how to do the gear shifter. My original thought was to put a pivot point right here and have the gear shifter come up and stick out right here, and this is where you'd hit it with your foot, and then I'd connect these two with like some linkages or whatever. I put the gear shifter here to first figure out which way is downshifting, which way is upshifting. Turns out down is down, up is up, which is awesome. And I really like it right here. It's kind of in the perfect spot. Look at this. It's kind of perfect. You can just simply push up to go up in gears and kick down to go down. This is a whole lot easier than how I was originally going to do it. It's a lot easier to reach. You just hit it with your foot. I think let's just go with this. This is the simplest way to do it. Simplest is best sometimes. Alright, so last night we finally started trying to figure out how to mount all this plastic on here. Now, unfortunate, I didn't plan on this, or I didn't plan for this, but this bar is hitting where the headlights are. I do not want to cut the headlights out. I can't really stretch this thing, I can't move it forward. There's really not much I can do besides cutting this bar off, taking these, bending them in, and then making new bars that basically just bend in and then meet in the middle. So instead of a really big square, it'll be tapered in. It'll look a lot better, and it should clear. The headlights should be right there. It's a little bit of a setback, but it should be worth it. Alright, so we're finally ready to start working on the gas tank. Now, I went to my local scrapyard and I picked up some scraps of stainless steel. They're a little scratched up, but this is way cheaper than buying this stuff brand new. This, plus 4 other more sheets, was only 25 bucks, so that's why I love my scrapyard. So, I bought some stainless steel filler metal, which is MIG wire, but I'm going to be using it as TIG filler rod because it's the thinnest stuff that they had for this thin sheet. Also bought a stainless steel welding cap, welding bung, whatever this thing is, and some other stuff for the fuel lines. So I think it's going to go right in between where the steering column is and the seat. I think that's the only place it'll go. So all we need to do is just measure, cut out some sheets, and weld it together. Shouldn't be too hard. Not bad at all. This is actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Alright, so last night I finished welding the gas tank together. Now, I just did a pressure check. I filled this thing full of, I think 15 to 20 psi of compressed air. Dunked this thing underwater and checked every single weld, every single seam. Make sure there's no air leaking out of anywhere, and it's perfect. There's no air. Everything seems to be perfect. As far as warpage, this thing warped really badly once I finished welding this thing together. And apparently that's what happens with stainless, so that's kind of unfortunate. But as long as it holds gasoline, that is all we need it to do. Alright, so we finally installed the front plastic. We will have to cut out a lot next to the tires just because they are hitting, the tires are hitting some of the plastic when I turn the wheels, and they're not even traveling up and down yet with the suspension. So we are going to have to cut out some plastic to make the tires fit in there, but we will do that later on. We also installed the radiator. It's behind the seat. I'm sure you guys saw it. Now, I know it's not in the best location, but it's really the only place I can figure out where to put it. Worst case, we can drill some holes. I'd rather not. Best case, we could just put some extra fans back there to get more airflow to it. I will be adding a temperature gauge to the engine, so therefore we can monitor and make sure we don't overheat the engine. I guess we also we installed the gear shifter. For those who think that the gearing is that the gear shifting is gonna be backwards, it's not, which is awesome. If you look at the gear shifter on the bike, the gear lever is facing backwards, facing towards the back tire, so therefore it's still the same gearing. It's still 1 down and 5 up. So that works perfect. Oh, gas tank. We also installed the gas tank and the battery. I don't think I showed the battery. It was kind of boring. I just welded a little bracket on there to fit the battery. We are almost ready to finally start wiring everything together, but before we can do that, I do want to disassemble everything, weld everything together, because remember, this thing is only tacked together for now. So I don't want to wire everything, take it for a test drive, and have a couple tacks break, possibly. So therefore, we're just gonna disassemble it now, weld everything together, put it back together, wire everything. We also need to install the brakes. I forgot about that. We haven't installed the brake calipers on the front or on the back yet, so that's another thing we have to do. So we still have a lot of work that we need to do to get this thing running, but hopefully within the next couple videos we can work on that. But for now, I gotta end this video here. Now I have to thank Go Power Sports for sending us the parts we've used for this project. Links for everything will be in the description below. Go check that out. I gotta end this video here. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video. Oh! This thing has reverse. For those who don't believe me, check this out. All you have to do is grab the tires and push backwards. It has reverse. I finally have a project that has reverse. It's not similar to something, you know, it is manual. You do have to push it along, but it does work. It's kind of like Flintstones, but with your hands, so. Why does it look red? Is it red? Or is it the screen? There it goes. And it's back to red. What the heck? Okay, it's just gonna look a little red. I have no idea why. This thing is garbage.